Scott, you know we
Yeah.
have.
You guys weren't gonna say anything, were you? You just
No,
along
we
with
did,
that.
but it was to each other.
Wow.
We thought maybe you forgot who you were, you needed a reminder.
No, I've been trying to forget for a while.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business tonight is to see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the minutes from the meeting held on November 6, 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
From Stephanie, and a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the minutes from the meeting on November 6th? Unanimous, thank you. Next, we have citizen comments. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak? Moving on. Board member comments. Are there any board members that would like to speak? Next is the chairman's report. I hope everyone recovered well from the storm and had a nice holiday. I don't have anything to report on aside from the policy committee. The policy committee was formed, members are chosen, they met at their first meeting on December 11th. The plan is to meet monthly, 2 weeks prior to each board meeting in hopes of having policies to review each meeting. David Bartlett will have a little more to say with the policy committee report. And that concludes my chairman's report. Committee board meetings. The next SAB 44 board meeting is Monday, February 12th at 6:30 p.m. here at Telstar Library. The Education Committee met last Thursday, January 4th, and we'll meet again Thursday, February 1st at 3 p.m. in the Norway Savings Bank Conference Room. Finance and Negotiations Committee will meet Tuesday, January 16th at 5:30 in the Superintendent's office. Facilities and Personnel Committee, who met tonight, and we'll meet again on February 12th at 5:15 here at Telstar. The Policy Committee did not meet this morning, but will meet on Monday, January 29th at 10 a.m. And the Region Road Cooperative Board met last Wednesday, January 3rd, and they will meet again on February 7th. Is that correct, David? Thank you.
Policy committee meeting always 2 weeks prior at 10 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, that is the plan anyway.
And where does that meeting happen?
Here in Telstar, the conference room, just over the Next order of business is committee reports, reporting to the Education Committee. Stephanie.
Yes, we've actually met twice since the last board meeting, because we snuck one in since this meeting was postponed. So our first of those 2 meetings, our curriculum coordinator, Shelley Vogel, came in, and we talked about, she took us through standard-based learning and grading, what that means in our district, why we feel it's the best way to go. And there was a lot of learning there, which was super informative. And the last one, we had the high school guidance counselor, Lori Lindsay, as well as the high school principal, John Elliott, came in to talk about our early college opportunities at the high school, including our dual enrollment program, sort of the history of early college and where we are after that.
That was it? All right, thank you. And for the Facilities and Personnel Committee, Marcy.
So we met this
this evening.
Something for me, went over our Telstar PA system progress. We did a progress check on that. We are waiting for the final piece of the PA system, which involves an electrician. The Honeywell AC project at CPS is now up and functioning. The cafeteria tables at the Woodstock School have been ordered and hopefully will arrive before February vacation. And then, of course, there was lots of discussion on the SAD 44 bus garage after the flood, and basically there's lots of information we're waiting on. They've had 3 adjusters in, just waiting on numbers and all of that, and what that's going to look like. Still in the early stages of kind of dealing with that. Lots of things to talk about there.
For the finance committee, Meredith?
Hello. We met last in November, and we started to look at options for the upcoming AFSCME contract negotiation and using comparables from the districts around us. And then we started to talk about some bigger ticket items that we'll have to plan into our budget, like roof repairs and all that stuff.
And for the policy committee, David Bartlett?
Thank you, Aaron. As Aaron mentioned, we do have a new policy committee. The members on the policy committee are Stephanie Herbert, Stephanie Kayer, Aaron Cooley, Destiny Hughes, and myself, David Bartlett. We did meet on December 11th of last year, and we are going to be meeting, going over the first rounds of our policies on the 29th. I was voted as chairman, and Destiny was voted as vice chairman. Mike Muir is our facilitator, and we went over things that some of us policy committee members used to do in years past. We used to get to do some of those very sparingly, so they kind of built up over the years. So now we really got to crack down, and we'd like to try to get 3 or 4 of these out every meeting, so that we can bring them to the full committee for the first readings, and then we'll go from there. So that's our goal, is trying to get 3 or 4.
And for the Region 9 Cooperative Board, David Jones?
The December meeting was canceled, not for weather, but for lack of business, which does not indicate that nothing was happening, but that everything is happening as I understand it, being new. It generally does very smoothly. Our January meeting was interesting in that 2, I think, significant reports. One, the Region 9 facility produced a spectacular light show for what was the light show in Mexico and Rumford, and everyone was very appreciative. And internally, damn it, I missed the spaghetti luncheon for all the students provided by the staff who did the cooking. I established that it wasn't the culinary staff, but that is not the reason I didn't attend. 2 significant aspects of current procedures. They are planning and developing 2 new buildings for welding and for their culinary arts. I'm finding it very interesting to be on a sort of informal committee that looks at these things. They are very thorough in their planning. They are really thinking about what is needed, what it will cost. Their consultants are good on the subject. I've been very impressed. They're hoping to go to tender on at least one of these 2 buildings late this month. And I think we can reasonably expect that there will be substantial advances in both culinary and welding. Sounds very different, but they're 2 things that happen over the next for the next academic year. That's all I know, being new.
The next order of business is the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody. So, going back through, trying to remember what we didn't do back in December, there's some appointments and transfers. We had a new hire at Crescent Park, Marianne Wentworth, who is a new EdTech 3 LPN working in special ed services, and transfer of Cheryl Rockwood from Telstar back to Crescent Park as custodian. Some Schedule B appointments for Crescent Park Student Council and basketball, Crystal Gould. Woodstock, we have basketball co-coaches Erica Fujimaki and Walter Inman. Softball coach Erica Fujimaki. Student council Andrea Howe, and yearbook is Lindy Gates. For the middle school, drama club Elaine Hutchins. Head boys basketball Tim O'Connor. Assistant boys basketball Steve Pelletier. Head girls basketball Natasha Howard, and assistant girls basketball David Barry, and alpine ski coach Mark Duchart. For the high school, National Honor Society Alka Bloss, FBLA advisor Melissa Poston, Math League advisor John Erdy. Got Farms is Lindsay Smith and Justin Bondison. Interact Club is Lindsay Smith and Jonathan Wallace. Nordic skiing this year, Kristen Powell. Alpine skiing, Will Klein. Head boys basketball, Ryan Kimball. Assistant boys basketball, Shane Wilson. Head girls basketball, Alec Newell. And assistant girls basketball, Brianna Douglas. No resignations to report at this time, which is always a good way to start the year. Not going to complain. Marcy mentioned earlier the Crescent Park air conditioning project. They have finally gone through the final punch list, and they are done with that project with the hopes that we will have cool air in the spring if we need to. It is currently working and the systems are on, and Arlene is able to monitor those. She's still needing and waiting for some training on the new software, but finally, at long last, that project is wrapped up and complete, and Honeywell is out of there. So it only took an extra couple months to get there, but we're there. This evening we have a presentation from our Resiliency Committee, and we have Gina Lavoie and Lindsay Lecce here to represent the committee, and they're going to share with you some updates as to where things have gone and where they're going. They have been very busy and active across the district, both staff and students, and they have a lot of good things to share, so they have the floor. Thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you. Just a piece of the committee. I'm going to share two things. One is that I did not have any of my PR students who were available to give a citizen comment tonight, but I do have two who will speak. We have a recording, and this is really to share out. I think it speaks a lot, ties into our resilience. One of our focuses last year was about belonging, and this year, to start the year, we had an assembly. So I'm just going to let these kiddos, who if you had asked them in 6th grade, will you be speaking to the board, even though it's a recording, they would have said, no way, no, I cannot do that. So I really think it does speak to the resilience of our students and what they are able to do as they work through the middle school. So here are, well, I'll let them introduce themselves. Hopefully they're not in this loud enough. That's me singing.
Lights, music, dancing. Telstar students were given the opportunity to enjoy a performance sponsored by BAM and the school's civil rights teams. The guest performer was Firefly the Hybrid. He was excited to be at Telstar and was well received by students and staff. Firefly is a Wabanaki music artist who started his journey in 2020. He released his first album in 2020 called Secret Fire. He got these songs from the ancestors but added a twist, with flashing lights, smoke machines, and colorful straws with LED lights in them. The meaning of his name is Spark of Knowledge in a World of Ignorance or Darkness. American Indians collected lightning bugs, smeared with them as decorations on their face and chest. Not only did he perform his music, but he included students by having them come on the stage to dance and play his hand drums. One of Firefly's best assets is that he has flashing lights and smoke machines, and it was a really fun experience.
From their perspective.
Civil Rights Team has been planning the Day of Welcome since last June. For the Day of Welcome, they wanted to bring a performer in who was open and accepting of others. They researched all about him and then partnered with Bethel Area Arts and Music Band to help fund the cost of his performance. The Day of Welcome is an event sponsored by the main project of the Attorney General through the Civil Rights Team project. What is a Civil Rights Team? Well, the Civil Rights Team is a group of people who celebrate people's differences. We have middle school and high school civil rights teams to show that we are here for each other without judgment. Civil rights is important because we get to celebrate, not judge other people's differences, including all races and skin colors, all national origins and ancestries, all religions, all disabilities, all genders, including gender identity and expression, and all sexual orientations. Anyone can join the Civil Rights Team, even in the middle of the school. The group meets once a week and led by teachers Melissa Prescott, Cynthia Jordan, and school counselor Kristen Allen. Overall, this event was both entertaining and a great learning experience. We are thankful for Firefly's willingness to share his past message with us. The Civil Rights Team and band are also important organizations for school and student experiences. Wilson Middle School is grateful for a new spark of knowledge gained by this performance.
And then Greg's face. So yeah, they did write that themselves, did some research, interviewed students on their take of the assembly, as well as interviewed the Civil Rights Team to find out how it came to be, and are working on some articles for the Citizen to maybe submit. Okay, so thinking about resilience and where we've been, where we're going, what we're doing now, all the things. Going back to 2018, some of you, hold on, we don't want to do that. Go to slideshow, here we go. Some of you were actually board members back when we started talking about adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, and Stephanie LeBlanc had come. She did a mini workshop about what that was. It resonated with our staff, and then thanks to Steph and to Mark who signed us up, he's like, sure, we'll do it. We became a pilot school, and recipients, beneficiaries actually of a rather large grant. We were able to get a lot of professional development, support our staff in learning about zones of regulation, just what this all means, building resilience for not just our students, but for our families and our staff. And so we've come a long way, so I don't want to talk too much about that entire journey, but just know that this is 5+ years now in the making in terms of our efforts, and many thanks to some of this work, we were in a really good place when we had to deal with COVID and isolation and things, and just we had a lot of tools in our toolbox to be able to reach out and support families and students through that, and our staff. Okay.
This is me. So we have been going nonstop since the beginning in all of these areas. Professional development for teachers, really looking at data. When we got the grant in the beginning, Behavioral Health Improvement Institute in New Hampshire did all the data for us. That has now gone away, so insert Gina LeVoy last year as the district resiliency team coach. And so I now deal with all of the data that comes in for the resiliency team. And of course, parents and kids at our center. So we had Dave Stewart Jr. come, who did some professional development for us as a district, and really brought forth a lot of thinks for us on how to motivate students. And he has 5 key beliefs, which we have been centering our work on since he came. And that is credibility, value, effort, efficacy, and belonging. And we really feel if those 5 things are in place, kids are more motivated and ready to learn and in a good place. We also have RIT teams, which started then. And those are resilience intervention teams. And what we did was we took, don't laugh at me, Tanya, there's too many acronyms. And what we did was we took the knowledge that he gave us in those trainings, and we really focused on belonging and making sure that our kids feel like they belong. If you feel you belong, everything else falls into place. So what we did was, when we talked about the survey, this is a perfect place for it.
Yep.
So what we did was we developed a 10-question survey called the 5 Key Beliefs, and it's given to all of our students at the beginning of every year. And it asks them 10 questions which focuses around those 5 key beliefs. We then use that data, teachers, staff, we use that data to look to see where some needs might be for some of our kiddos. And so then we were able to hand select students that we thought would need extra support in feeling like they fit in and belong. And then we were able to practice those strategies. So this has continued this year. We are doing RIT teams as well. Teachers can focus on belonging or another area in which kids need something more in this area, but we meet every other month. As teachers in groups, we talk about our students. It's a support for us, and we're in turn able to support our students. You want to talk about tracking that, or do that later?
Sure. So this 5 key belief survey, it's really just an inventory of where kids are. And then what I love about this is it's a beautiful, very quick 10-question thing that every student takes in the fall. And then our staff, we actually ask them to think about your students as you're getting to know them. Who do you think might need something from you a little more than, just if they need a couple more drops in their bucket? And then we show them the data, and they look to see if it's, if it sort of validates what their hunch was or not. And most times it does, but, and Gina can say this, what it does also is it highlights students who maybe we would be missing. Oh my gosh, I had no idea that this kid was feeling this way. And so we do this K through 12 every year in the fall for every student. We then resurvey the students who have been targeted in the spring to see what that impact was just that year. This has the potential to be a really beautiful longitudinal study over time, but that's what a longitudinal study is. So this is our 3rd year of doing it, but imagine in 10 years, those kids who were in kindergarten are now going to be graduating, and we can see how they have reported on just these 5 key beliefs each year. So our hope, right, is that we'll see a lot of really positive things happen. And if we're seeing trends that aren't that way, well, what can we do to change their course?
Second step is also a resiliency program that has been adopted by the elementary schools in the district. We did professional development around it last year, and lessons are delivered to all of our students K-5 on a weekly basis, teaching them resiliency skills. The kids love it. They sing the songs even when they're not playing. They know everything, but the kids they practice these skills, and then we recognize them with student of the weeks and assemblies for demonstrating that they have, shown these skills throughout the week. So it's very motivating, but right on target.
And then 6-12, one of the things that and I know that we had kind of talked about and touched on last year in some of our board meetings, had to do with concerning behaviors that make kids feel like they don't belong, and that would be harassment and bullying. And so one way that we can address that is by really giving some information, some training, some practice, and bolstering the voices of our students and our staff to be able to address those issues right then in the moment or later on in terms of reporting things and following up. And so we actually relied on an outside resource, and thanks to the grant, we were able to pay for that. Prevent Act Change came and did fantastic PD with our staff, active bystander training. And it kind of talks about, there's two pieces to it. One is how to use your voice and think about, is it an aggressive voice, an assertive voice, or a passive voice? And there's a lot of role playing and definitions there. And then also, when you're in a situation that you feel like this is not feeling right, there's 5 Ds, 5 ways that you might address that situation. And so when you can like front load how you might be able to approach that situation, we're better equipped to deal with it in the moment. It was well received by our staff. We then continued a lot of that training so we could just go deeper with it. In the spring, we invited Prevent Act Change to come back, and they did that, well, a modified version of that training with our 7th graders, who also did a beautiful job with that training and received it well. So, and we will talk about BAR a little bit later on, but last year the DOE was talking about offering up an opportunity, so I submitted an application and we were chosen as to be a BAR school for the middle school. So I'll talk about that in a bit. We also had community events because remember that belonging is not just for those people who are in this building. We want anybody who resides outside the building and on a daily basis is in here to feel as though they belong when they come through these doors or when they're engaging in any sort of school event. And so we hosted a few community events. Felting, which was offered to anybody in the community and in our schools 6 through 12, K through 12. We had a snowshoe, and then we also had
A sloop surf event,
Yeah.
slurp soup event for staff, where we went and walked the trails. The snowshoe event and the slurp soup event, we had posted connecting questions on the trails. And so as the staff members were there to help community members and community members came, we kind of got to answer a question along the trail like each time, and it kind of made some really good connections for people. Just trying to build that community.
Yeah, adding in some mindfulness practices
Yeah.
and things like that. All right, so we talked a little bit about that 5 key belief survey, and we also conduct a climate survey every year, and that is district-wide. So Gina will talk about some of the domains that covers. We survey our students, we survey our staff, and then we survey our caregivers. So it's sort of 3-pronged with many of the same domains. And we have been doing that since the fall of 2019. And we continue to do that. So again, that gives us some really good data year to year, same exact survey, but we do get different responses each year, and it lets us know, you know, what we focused on, did it work, and where might we be falling short, and how can we improve that?
So the domains that are covered in the survey are school environment, what the classrooms are like, how is the school maintained. Interpersonal relationships is a big one that's covered in this survey, from caregiver to staff, staff to student, staff to staff, and students with peers. So all of those things are looked at. Parent involvement, what that looks like in each school. And the climate survey is given by school, but we can also look at it through a district lens and put all the scores together. School safety, school-home partnerships, teaching and learning, trauma-responsive environment, and student agency. So some of the highlights from the last survey, well, we just did one in November, beginning of November. I have not finished all that data yet. So these are looking at the highlights from the data from last year. So there was an increase in family participation from the previous year. Caregivers were feeling more comfortable talking to teachers. Teachers increased in repairing their relationships and feeling safer, talking about difficulties that they were having. There was an increase of student feeling of safety, hope for the future, feeling understood and supported by the adults that they encounter daily in our schools, and really some improvement in them feeling comfortable helping others as well. So So those are some positive things from the survey.
That's district-wide.
District. Yep. So we can look at our scores overall, and these are district scores. So fall 2019 district-wide, we had an overall score of a 3.1, and we're gauging on a 1 to 4. So if we look at standards-based grading, anything above 3, we're on target, and 3 is good. So we had a 3.1. In the fall of 2022, district-wide, it was a 3.14. So I want you to take into consideration that, not a huge increase, and things fluctuate from year to year, but I would say with everything that our families and communities have had to go through in the past few years, as a district, we are maintaining these scores and able to meet their needs, even though the areas fluctuate a little bit. So that's pretty nice.
Oh, I just told it to shut down.
Yeah, keep going again. I'll look at this one. Okay. We have so much good stuff. Highlights. Some highlights and good things were staff and student relationships, student agency, and some growth opportunities from that survey were increased parent involvement in our schools and really looking at behaviors that's in the classroom that support teaching. So those were some areas that we may want to look at for some improvement. Oh, there we go.
Kids feeling that behaviors are impeding the ability for a teacher to teach is a concern. So certainly something that we're aware of and want to address. All right, what's happening now? So as a resilience team and looking at the data and also just looking at the faces of the people that we see every day, and we've got positions that we're still trying to hire for, we are very aware of, and as is the state and the country, of teacher burnout. And so we are trying to highlight some staff wellness as part of the resilience team to be able to provide some opportunities for our staff to just take care of themselves and use the resources that we have right here in our district that really don't cost anything. So we have staff who express an interest, and we've done walks together, just meeting at Valentine Farm or here on the trails going for a walk, utilizing our fitness room, so setting aside time in the high school fitness room, which is a wonderful facility and free for those of us who are working here, to be able to just work out together, take care of our bodies, but also do that together and support each other, and then looking to include maybe some yoga practice from a local practitioner who will be willing to come in. We also want to continue with community events, like now that we've got some more snowshoeing, because it's just a fun thing. You don't have to be good at it. You can just fall over in it. Nobody cares. It's fine. In partnership with our civil rights team, we do anticipate an out-Maine sort of professional development information night that I think is taking place outside at a different venue, but certainly supported and organized by the school. Also inviting in NAMI to do some presentations, and that's about mental health. And then we are continuing with staff professional development as well, in a slightly different way. In the past, we've had really impressive administrative support in allowing for faculty meeting time. There's a lot of things that need to get done during faculty meeting, so what we're trying to do is offer some asynchronous opportunities, because in the past 5 years, we've actually had quite a bit of turnover. And so what we introduced and learned together 5 years ago is either I need a refresher, or it's brand new information to me as a new staff member. So we're trying to offer it to kind of keep consistent with all the things that we know to be good for kids, to make sure that staff have access to that learning. And we're doing some book groups, as well as we have a Google Classroom that we've created for staff to be able to access resources easier. And then, one of the big things is that the middle school is a bar school, and that is, in the state of Maine, I think there are 71 schools that are bar schools. This is about $100,000 that if, as a district, we were going to pay for that, that we are not paying for, because the DOE is supported it for this year, and I'm really hoping that the second year, that will kick in as well. But this is a 3-year implementation, and what BAR stands for is Building Assets and Reducing Risks. Really impressive, and I cannot say enough how much I appreciate. We had 17 out of our 23 middle school staff members who came for 2 full days of training over the summer to be able to do this. And afterwards, it just resonated so strongly, like, this is exactly what we were doing, this is everything we were trying to put together and putting so much effort into, but here it is in this really formal, really clean, consistent package for us. And it is about looking at the whole student and every single student. We meet weekly in our teams, we meet weekly as slightly bigger teams, and then we meet weekly, it's called Community Connect. There's I wouldn't call it a curriculum, but there's a whole guided resource for doing connection activities with our students. So if you have kids who are at the middle school, ask them about a connection activity, things like creating their shield. As the year goes on, they get a little bit more personal. And the staff participate in that too, so they're sharing out. And it's all about looking at the students' strengths to support them when they struggle. It's not about just targeting, like, this kid is struggling. It's where are their strengths, what are their resources, how can we leverage that so that they can, continue to thrive, or, how can we change their course so that they are reducing some of the risks that they might be facing. And so in a 3-year implementation, I think about how much we've achieved as a middle school, and this is only 9 trimesters, or 1.5 trimesters in. And it's been really difficult and challenging, but all for good outcomes. We're really glad that we're invested in it. And then we're continuing with our IT, with our elementary and our high schools, and our resilience team is still kicking and going strong. So that's what's happening now. And then thinking about what's next, we've kind of touched on some of this. Some of us participated in it was a workshop, 2-day workshop, again, put on by the Maine DOE for, it's called Regulated Classroom. And it's really about using a lot of the tools that help us to regulate ourselves as teachers so that we can model that for our students when dealing with something that's difficult, when just feeling triggered about something that is outside of our school environment, and facing challenges. And it's really about building those really specific skills and modeling them for our students so that they have them as well. And so we're looking forward to sharing that training as possibly a whole year of PD with our staff for their sake and also for the kids. And then we have resilience team planning. So we're always looking at data, which Gina is crunching all the time to help drive decisions for next year. Yeah, and how do we keep it going? It's all about sustainable planning. We ask our staff to keep in mind, yes, there is so much to be doing and to be worried about and to care about, but we really can only do a few things well at a time. And so we try to just pace ourselves when it comes to that. And it's about the big picture in the end, and know that we're just trying to move the needle a little bit every time. We cannot do it all, and also take care of ourselves and be able to do what we need to. So, yeah. Questions, comments? It's a lot to take in.
It was a lot of information, but wonderful. I mean, it's just amazing that this is still going strong. We're still learning from every year. And that's that we have so many resources for our students and staff.
These two put a lot of time and effort into that, making sure it does stay on the forefront, so it wouldn't happen without somebody driving the bus. Without driving the bus.
Yeah.
We're not doing that certification.
Jim just perked up a little bit.
And anytime, I just want to encourage our board members to, if you are interested in attending a resilience meeting or if you want to just see what that Google Classroom or what some of those resources are, please reach out, because we'd be happy to either do a little, education committee, you want to know what zones of regulation is? We'll come and tell you. Okay? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now I will say, okay.
Up next, we talked about this the last board meeting, but we did have a formal book challenge for a book here at the Telstar Library. And following policy, there was a committee that was put together. That committee has rendered their recommendation, which I have to share with you tonight and go through. The book challenge is on the book Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl by author Jesse Andrews. Committee members were Lindsay Lecce, middle school principal, John Elliott, high school principal, Kelly Frazier, Telstar librarian, Lori Davis as TMS ELA department head and 6th grade English teacher, Dr. Melissa Poston, Telstar High School Humanities department head and 9-12 English teacher, and Janet Bartlett, who served as community member, current TMS parent, former THS and CPS parent, and PTA member. A couple hats. Combined, this committee represents over 150 years of active involvement in education and over 100 years of experience specifically related to literacy instruction. Our backgrounds and training span from elementary instruction to advanced placement, as well as being well-versed in the needs of students with IEPs, 504s, gifted and talented qualifiers. Our community representative has not only had the experience in each grade level span with her children in public schools, but has also homeschooled her children as well and participated in private schooling. Our range of knowledge and experience is more than sufficient to present a recommendation to the board regarding the book Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl by Jesse Andrews and the challenge brought forth by Stephanie Erickson. Committee understandings. The policy clearly prioritizes book selection that supports curriculum and the needs of individual schools. The committee recognizes the board's policy regarding book choice and the responsibility that we have as a district to provide a wide range of books with varying perspectives and diverse topics to best meet the needs and interests of our students. This is not only an obligation we have as educators, but it is also a value we uphold because we want to engage our students in the healthy habit of reading both for pleasure and learning. The committee also recognizes the board's policy concerning parent choice and the safeguards we need to have in place to protect the freedom to be able to choose the titles they and their children will read. The policy does not allow the authority of one parent or guardian to infringe on the rights of all. Committee recommendations. Given our understanding of MSAD 44 board policy, the rights of parents and students, as well as our expertise in education, in support of the freedom to choose reading materials, the committee recommends the book titled Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl by Jesse Andrews remain in circulation in the Telstar Library Learning Complex. We also recommend the board remind parents and guardians that they have the right to communicate book choice preference for their child as outlined in our policy IJJ. Reading is an adventure, a lesson in life skills and experiences, and a skill that opens one up to opportunities, knowledge, and ideas. Reading is an important gift we can give our children to strengthen their understanding of themselves and the world around them. Reading develops the ability to not only focus deeply, but also to find empathy for others. And this is respectfully submitted and signed by each person on the committee. Following our policy, it is to be shared with the board, and I also shared this with the person who put the original challenge forward. She has chosen to use her next path is to challenge that finding from the committee, which means we'll be setting a special board meeting. And Aaron and I talked about tonight, and looking at the calendar, we have to have a written recommendation from the board back before our next board meeting. Our next board meeting is on February 12th. So in order to give time for the board to read the book, to look at the challenge and all the documents come with it, we have set a special board meeting for Monday, February the 5th at 6:30 here in the library. That is going to be an open board meeting for the purpose of the board to discuss what you've heard, the findings in the report, and the original challenge put forth by Stephanie Erickson. And that'll be a chance for you to discuss if you're going to uphold the recommendation from the committee, or if the board is going to choose a different path to take. And there'll be a board decision. The board will then put something in writing, and that will be presented at the February 12th board meeting. Are there any questions about next steps?
I apologize, what was the time?
6:30 on Monday the 5th.
And we will be receiving some sort of documentation.
You'll get a packet tomorrow, I'll scan it all together and put it out to you tomorrow, so you'll have all the information. And give you a chance to go through all that, also a chance to read the book for yourselves, to make your own opinion, and to come forward to that meeting. So on Monday the 5th, we chance the board to have discussion about the recommendation from the committee and or how you want to proceed as a board with that particular book in our library. Scott?
If there's an individual conversation between two board members, is that considered ex parte communication?
So I asked the lawyers, Drummond and Woodson, about that particular question you had. And the recommendation came back that as board business, board items should be discussed in board meetings and not outside the board for your own purpose, because everything's supposed to be done in public open session. And so it was recommended that, yes, you can't bar anybody from having side conversations, but it was best to have all board member conversations about this topic to be done at the board meeting and not done outside of the board.
For a board member and a member of the public?
You can have conversation, can't stop that from happening, but anything official all goes through the board, and you are only a board member officially when you're sitting in the board meeting, and all board business should be done in session, public session at that time, instead of outside. Sure thing. And I want to thank the committee, and they put a lot of time and energy into going through this. This is not an easy topic of conversation. It's a hot topic all across our country right now, and there are opinions on all sides. And so the job of the committee was to weigh the policy, their findings, and bring that to the board. And ultimately, the final decision does rest with the board. So we will go through the full process, and on February 5th, if you have questions, opinions, that'll be the time to bring them to the board and have an open discussion about the recommendation and what you want to do with that recommendation. At this time, you don't have to make a decision or share any questions. We'll save that all for that February 5th board meeting. The only thing I have to add, since we put this agenda together back in December, is a few things have changed in the area. We've gone through a few things as a community. A very brief update, as if you don't know, after the town waters receded and we had what was left, our bus garage received significant damage. We had 4 feet of standing water in the entire bus garage facility. Thankfully, Jim and a few of his staff members were able to, on the Monday that we had early release, get all of the vans and buses up here to Telstar to high ground, so we didn't lose any buses, but everything in that facility at the 4 feet line and under was destroyed. All the computers, files, radios, supplies, tools, was all lost. We have been working with our insurance company. They've sent 2 different adjusters, one to assess the functionality of the building itself. Another adjuster came and did all of the inventory of everything lost in the building. We are waiting to hear back the reports. We've reached out to Service Master, the cleaning service, to come in and help us with remediation and essentially gutting of the building. All wooden surfaces have to be removed inside 8 feet and down. We have also, Ireland has been really good about contacting. We have Clean Harbors coming because the back room of the bus garage has a plethora of chemical spills and debris that need to be cleaned up that a specialty company has to come in and do for environmental hazard purposes. The other part of this is that our diesel fuel tank in the back of the building, the pump was destroyed by water damage, as well as the safety alerts and systems that go with it. So we've had to put in for a replacement of that. So until such time, we do not have access to our diesel fuel. So we've had to send buses to the local gas stations to pay street price for diesel to keep our buses going until we can get access to that pump again and our diesel fuel. That is just some of the basic breakdown of what happened. We're waiting for insurance claims. We had other insurance issues and claims to come from the time that we were closed and power outages. This building took significant damage to our heating systems. When we came off of generator power back onto regular CMP street power, there was a phase out issue, so we did not get full power back. We have temporary works in place, and our leaders work with Honeywell to come and make sure that we have a functioning building, but we had some significant computer issues that fried all of our systems and did not, our boiler, our pellet boiler, and some of our heating units in the building were damaged. There was a leak in the Crescent Park Library, which was noticed quickly and hopefully it was remedied. And we also lost the refrigerator compressor at Woodstock School, and so the kitchen refrigerator freezer went, all during the fun times.
And the portable generator.
And so the portable generator in the bus garage was also water damaged, so our backup portable generator, which used to service Crescent Park and Woodstock, we're waiting to find out the extent of the damage to that. So we have a lot of things to replace. We have a lot of decisions to make as a board and facilities committee. We met tonight talking about what the insurance money could afford us and what our next steps are going to be, what's in the best interest of that physical building of the bus garage now, and moving forward, what options we're going to have, because chances are it's going to flood again sometime soon. And not only the bus garage in jeopardy, our town power source is in jeopardy, and our water source. We were very fortunate, we were able to provide services to the town during the power outage and water outage that we did open this building as a Red Cross Center. That's why we have the generator that we do. The town manager and Mike Jodry, our emergency response, asked us to open the building for a warming and charging station. We did have people come in and take advantage of that. We had people come in and take advantage of warm showers, which takes a while for the water to get warm, but there were warm showers available. We had some beverages and snacks available, and then we had to shift things over to Crescent Park once the floodwaters receded because our heating system went down for a while here at this building. So once we got through all of that, and town lost water, we had to close the buildings anyway. And if you did have a chance to listen to Mr. Fraser's repartee and videos, he did a great job updating everybody. You never prepared for things like this till they happen, but we are beyond blessed to have the community that we do. To have people that stepped up and helped out and worked together, and from all the businesses to staff the schools, just to make things possible, and extended Christmas vacation the way we never thought we would. We have updated and added to our waiver letter to the DOE and are asking for those days back as well as the day from the Lewiston shootings so that we can have some of our snow days done. And looking at the forecast for this week, we're going to need them. So we're waiting to see how that plays out. But until then, we're moving forward with everything. And just figured you'd want that basic update as to where things are at. Scott?
It's part statement, part question. Is so the evaluation of the building, is there going to be a result, like is it potentially uninhabitable because of mold, or the other one is a structural issue? And then there's the part question, part statement, is it, hopefully it's being looked at, or is the insurance coverage such you can just take the cash and not replace anything there and deliberately move towards a new facility elsewhere? Just don't try to fix anything other than remediate and, figure it out from
Those are
there.
decisions
Cash
we
it out.
made, definitely. We, the building was, unfortunately deemed to be structurally sound enough to inhabit again and to repair. Selfishly, we're hoping that a different result. We have to make a decision once we know what the insurance is going to afford as to where we want to put our money going forward and what is going to be the best answer. In the meantime, we don't have a bus garage, and thankfully the town of Bethel is allowing us to use their bay at their maintenance building for service, as well as a local business here in town across the street have access if we need to. But also part of that is that Jay, our head mechanic, all the tools primarily were lost, all the equipment was lost, all the supplies were lost, and everything 4 feet and under, as well as backup radios, all of our computer drives for the bus cameras and everything, all the backups, everything was lost. So trying to figure out where our best investment is going to be going forward for the long haul. And that's going to be a different conversation than we thought we'd be having prior to the flood. And so that's part of our big discussion we had tonight in the facilities committee, and we'll have to bring more to the full board going forward, once we know what we're talking about for numbers. And it's a big decision we're gonna have to, we weren't planning on having necessarily this year, but we're gonna have to have. So, with that, I conclude my superintendent's report.
Next order of business is old business. Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Number one, adjustments to the agenda. We do have a couple minor adjustments to agenda items 4 and 5. They are read. Second line, agenda item number 4. It's read pay rate to $16 per day. It should say per hour. And agenda item number 5, same applies. Second line rates to $16.50 per day, it should say per hour. Big difference. Agenda item number 2, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding considering a request for an exception to policy ECC nepotism. Do I have a motion? And a second?
So the purpose of this tonight, we have a petition to bring to the board. We have a former Telstar graduate who is at UMaine Farmington in the education program, majoring in physical education, who would like to sub. But her mom sits on the board. And so per the policy, currently, she is not allowed to do that. And so I am asking, and she is asking, that the board consider an exception to this policy to allow her in the field to use her skills to provide us services, which we desperately need to have for substitutes. It would also allow her to coach in the future if she could fit into her schedule. But Brooklyn Kimball is here tonight, and I told her she wouldn't have to speak because she wasn't comfortable, but she is asking that she would like to have the opportunity to sub in the district when she is on break from school this year and going forward to next year, senior year at Farmington. But in order to do that, the board has to make an exception to this policy. So that's what you're asking for tonight in your vote, to ask for that exception.
And I will.
How long has the nepotism policy been in effect?
I go back, I think it was 2004, it's been in a while. And we have one in place, and every board has one in place for various reasons. But this is it's to protect different aspects of the board making decisions and somebody in their family directly benefiting from those decisions. And because of parental status, Coral is going to abstain from any conversation voting that purpose. I think it's a shame in a small town, a small community as ours, that a policy like this, and I understand the purpose and the reasoning for it, but it blocks out an opportunity for us to provide to this student to get training for her future, but also for us to benefit from somebody who's in the field and wanting to be in the field, to want to come and give back. We are so desperate to have subs and have good subs. It really is a perfect opportunity for us to benefit and for her to benefit as well, to get experience before student teaching, before she goes in the classroom on her own, to have that in her toolkit. And that's one of the best things you can do for a new teacher. The more experience, the better, because the more they have, the more success they can have. David?
So this would be the first time that this nepotism rule comes up since its inception?
It's actually the second time. Previously, it came on when Coral came on board. Her mom was a secretary in adult ed. And so because she was already there, we're allowed to continue doing that. But based on the policy, she would not have been allowed to be employed.
And that was a board approval?
That was board approval, yes. Scott?
I'm gonna vote for the motion, but I think it's important to have a policy, and I think that the specific circumstances ought to be made part of the motion and part of the record somehow. That's why this is being waived at this time. And she wants to sub, right?
She has one sub, yes.
Thank you.
Well, as a sub, could she be listed like as a temporary employee so that we still had the nepotism for like a full-time employee, but not,
Yeah, there has to be some qualification of what's going on here.
As a sub, she is a temporary, I mean, subs
Right.
are temporary employees.
So in other words, this doesn't establish any sort of precedent for future decisions. It's a single
It's a single
decision
Okay.
regarding this
Individual case,
particular.
This
Okay.
particular case here
There
now.
needs to be an
Yeah.
exception
Okay.
made in order to do this.
Right.
So it doesn't.
It is a
make it
singular
possible
exception.
the way the
Okay,
guy-
that's not a change of policy, it's
Understood.
Philosophy of stating anyways,
Right.
which I agree it would be a travesty to turn someone away who is bringing something to the community. I think that would be fair.
Especially if somebody graduated from school who knows specifically what goes on here.
Yeah.
And going into the field.
Yeah, and going.
That's what-
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the request for this exception to policy BCC nepotism? Thank you. Number 3, to seek action of board wishes regarding an increase to the substitute teacher at tech pay rate to $120 per day without a teaching degree and to $145 per day with a teaching degree starting January 1st, 2024. And the finance committee will have recommendation.
The finance committee recommends.
These next three items are in here because of the minimum wage increase that started January 1, and trying to, one, stay ahead of that, but two, also try and make ourselves as viable as we possibly can within the budget we have to get people to come in and work. And knowing that we are entering shortly into the asking contract negotiations, which is your custodians, kitchen workers, bus drivers, maintenance workers, we can only increase as much as that contract allows before that contract is discussed going forward. So this is a recommendation across all fronts to try and see if maybe a bigger carrot dangling will pull a few more people in and be willing to take on these roles. It still fits within our budget, so we're okay there. We're not talking hundreds of people showing up to do this. So if they are willing to come in, it's nice to be able to say thank you and to see if we can bring a friend or two along.
Are there instances where there aren't enough subs in any given day? And what happens if that happens?
Almost daily. Seriously, so we are blessed to have the staff that we do who are willing to step up and give up their prep period and cover for other teachers. We've had to combine classes. There have been times in this building alone this year when they were short 14 staff coverages between teachers and ed techs in any one given day. And that's with some subs being in. So you have admin subbing, you have teachers covering for each other, you have people giving up all their prep time just to try and help with coverage. We've had to combine classes, we had to bring kids down and put classes here in the library because there is enough coverage. And it's similar both at Crescent Park, not as much as Woodstock just because they're smaller, but they have shortages and everyone covers for each other. And so that's, it's gotten to critical mass in the last couple of years several times, to the point where we're even sure we could have school open because there just isn't enough staff. So it's definitely an issue.
Just a little note where it's January 1st, is this going to be back paid for folks that were subbing during that time or working during that time?
So that's a decision that we have to make tonight. If it's going to be back pay, if it's going to be from tonight going forward. Originally, this was supposed to be in the December meeting, so it would have been set for the change of January 1 when the new pay rates went into place for minimum wage. So that would be a decision tonight.
Well, the motion says starting January 1.
Yep.
Self-evident.
So
Could we make a motion to increase that if we wanted to?
you would have to, well, the motion on the floor is for the recommendation. So
So
you
you
have
have to
to
deny that one.
deny that and then bring back a different motion to change it differently. If that was the case.
Like Mark was saying too, our hands are fairly tied right now with the ASME negotiations, so it might seem like a baby step, but it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
What's the hourly breakdown on that? Like how many hours do they work? Just
7 hours a week.
7 hours.
Can we make a motion? Can we move to?
Yeah, any further discussion? Yes. Seeing no further discussion, see if the board, all those in favor of approving the increase to the substitute teacher and tech pay rate to $120 per day without a teaching degree and to $145 per day with a teaching degree starting January 1st, 2024. Thank you. Number 4, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding an increase to the substitute custodian, food service, or secretary pay rate to $16 per hour starting January 1st, 2024. And the finance committee will have that recommendation.
The finance committee recommends approval.
Discussion.
These are vital personnel. There can be no question about it.
Is this the same bucket of people or a different bucket?
This is different bucket.
But so like
But
somebody
still
that was
substitute.
subbing to be a substitute teacher wouldn't also be a substitute?
Some people do. Some people choose to work in the kitchen sometimes, or but it's different pay scale. So depending on what, because it depends on what role they're covering for, how it fits. And these current sub rates are anywhere between $14 and $15. So it's some are $1, some are almost $2 an hour to get them up to the $16 an hour. Says what's currently we do that.
Is this, I'm assuming this is less than what the current folks are getting, just to make sure.
Yes.
That's,
This was the ceiling that we could get to based on not having them equal to those in the full-time roles.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving an increase to substitute custodian, food service, or secretary pay rate to $16 per hour starting January 1st, 2024. Thank you. Number 5, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding an increase to the substitute bus driver rates to $16.50 per hour and substitute van drivers to $16 per hour starting January 1st, 2024. Finance committee will have recommendation.
Finance committee recommends approval.
Discussion.
Their current rate right now is $15 an hour. Just as a comparison, just so people know. And that also will help cover the monitors who ride in the vans for coverage, and they only get paid $10 an hour. And we cannot find anybody willing to do anything for $10 an hour. Not sure. We're fixing it.
So we're gonna be paying them more than that.
Yes. They'll be the 16 as well.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving an increase to substitute bus driver rates to $16.50 per hour and substitute van drivers to $16 per hour starting January 1st, 2024. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm ready for